it is ineffective. Welcome back to another video, and as you can see by the title, I'll be talking about something that a lot of persons have a lot to say about, and I'm just going to be sharing with you my little tips and bits of what it is. Now, before we get into the video, of course, I'll share with you a quote from my book, and today's quote is, "Do not let your opportunities scare you. Do not let the dream elude you. Do not underestimate your capabilities. Do not undervalue your worth. Believe it, pursue it, get it, do it. No excuses." Believe it, pursue it, get it, do it, no excuses. And with that being said, we're going to get right into the video. So for my first point today, I'll be talking about hand sanitizing. No, a lot of persons don't sanitize their hands, don't know when to sanitize their hands, and don't know how to sanitize their hands. So I have my sanitizer here that I have a smaller bottle that I pump some into and keep on my person, and I leave this bottle, like for instance, in my car, so I have it everywhere that I go. Now, in choosing a hand sanitizer, you want to get one that is at least 70% alcohol. So you can look at the back of the container and see the percentage of alcohol that is actually in it. Now we know the little Bath and Body Works hand sanitizer are very convenient, and they smell nice. But most times they are not 70% alcohol, so they are less effective. Alright, I'm gonna show an instance of how I've seen persons sanitize their hands, and then I'll show you how to sanitize your hands. So some persons just drop a little bit in the hand, sanitize, and them gone, them touch everything, them pick up their book, the phone, the key, and them all about. No, that's not how we do it. No. To sanitize your hands, you can't start by sanitizing soiled hands. So if, let's say, you went to KFC and you ate some chicken and your hands are all greasy and filled with chicken, if you sanitize those hands, you are just spreading the KFC chicken all over your hand. So you cannot sanitize soiled hands. So with your hands clean, meaning clean, free from obvious contamination, obvious dirt in that sense. So you want to pump a good amount into your hand. Oh no. Alright, let's put some more. So you want to pour a good amount into your hand, and you want to ensure that you cover all your hands. So you want to rub the back of your hand and get in your palm, and you have to get in between your fingers. No, all my entire hands have been completely sanitized. Now, in sanitizing your hand, you want to wait until your sanitizer is dry on your hand before you go about doing anything. So wait until it's dry before you touch anything. Just allow it to air dry. Now, because of this current pandemic, outside is very dirty. Outside is full of viruses, right? And we're trying to protect ourselves. Hence the reason we're sanitizing our hands. So you want to sanitize your hands as often as you possibly can. You're out in public, sanitize the hands a lot, because we touch a lot of things and we are not always conscious of what we're touching. So I suggest you sanitize your hands. For instance, I just sanitized my hands. Let's say I pick up this book that I had in my hand before I sanitized my hand. It is now not clean. My hands were clean before I touched it, but I picked up the book that I had before I sanitized my hands, so my hands are now dirty once again. So sanitizing your hands, and then you pick up your phone, Okay, defeating the purpose because our phones are very dirty. We have our phones on us all the time, spreading and cross-contaminating everything. So in sanitizing your hands, being clean, you ought to be conscious of what you go and touch, and if you are to go and touch something that is possibly contaminated, sanitize again so it's clean now. Now on to my second point, which is about wearing gloves. The CDC, which is the Center of Disease Control, and the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, does not recommend wearing gloves because wearing gloves can increase your risk of cross-contamination. Now, cross-contamination is what I was explaining to you previously in terms of sanitizing your hands, then picking up your phone, and then your hands have been cross-contaminated because your hands were clean, the phone was dirty, you picked up the phone, and your hands dirty again. So wearing gloves increases cross-contamination. Now, lots of persons don't know how to even remove a glove. So let's pretend that I've been wearing my gloves and I've been out in public touching everything and they're very dirty and my hands presumably have the coronavirus. Now, in taking off my gloves, a lot of persons are going to do this. Now, if my glove had the coronavirus, my hands now have the coronavirus because I used my hands to touch the gloves to take it off. Now my hands have been cross-contaminated, and in wearing the gloves, I'm like, in my head, or most persons that is saying, oh, they wore the glove and they have removed the gloves, so they have clean hands. So I'm going to be touching my nose and my mouth, and I go about touching everything else because my hands were clean in a glove. When truth and in fact, I have cross-contaminated. Now I'm going to show you how to remove the glove. In certain instances where there's a need, and I stress a need to wear gloves, I will show you how to remove them. Now you want to start by pulling down the glove off the hand so I haven't touched it at any point in time, and then using this hand I'm going to do the same for this glove. I'm not touching it, nothing is cross-contaminating, and I ensure that my gloves are off, still haven't touched the outside. No, you have to ensure once again that if you have a need to wear the glove, there is no cross-contamination. Right. Now on to my next point, which is in terms of wearing masks. Now the WHO recommends that persons who have contracted the coronavirus or are suspected of having the coronavirus, along with healthcare professionals, that they wear masks. Now, even though that is the recommendation that those persons wear masks, we also want to protect our at-risk groups. So those are elderly persons who probably have asthma or hypertension, which is high blood pressure, or any other immunocompromisation, anything that is weakening the immune system. So anything that is preventing your body from fighting that virus to its best or at its highest capability, we recommend that those persons also try to put in place extra protection for themselves. Now, a lot of persons are wearing a lot of different types of masks. The recommended masks for the healthcare workers, for instance, is a N95 and a N99 mask. Now, these masks are not recommended for the general public because they are not necessarily in high demand to have the entire population wearing an N95. So as of such, we reserve these masks for our healthcare workers who are actually at risk dealing with these corona patients or prospective corona patients, to protect themselves so that they can help us be safe and healthy and keep the corona patients, one side and away from us. Now, there are medical masks such as the surgical mask or the N95 or any type of those masks, but there are also non-medical material masks, so the fabric masks. A lot of persons are wearing these masks very incorrectly, and I wish to advise you that if you are wearing it incorrectly, it is ineffective. No. Even though a cloth mask is not what is recommended, it is, in layman terms, wearing the cloth mask is better than nothing. So it doesn't give you that much of a protection, so it's not very protective in terms of preventing you from getting the coronavirus, but it is better than wearing nothing. Now, a lot of persons have on the mask, and let me show you for instance. And it's like this because you cannot breathe, so you expose the nose. If your nose is exposed, don't wear the mask because all you expose, it's ineffective. If you're going to wear the mask, and even though it's covering your nose, you have a huge gap off your face, so it is not a snug fit. For instance, like this, it is ineffective because you are still exposed to the outside. So there's no, what you're breathing in is not coming through the mask, you're getting it directly through the gap between your face and the mask. So if you're not gonna wear it properly, that's why you don't wear it, because it's ineffective. Now, if you are putting on your mask, you have your nice, fresh, clean mask, you put it on your face, and you go into the public, and after returning, you do this. No. See, I am touching it, and this part is the part that is exposed. So if I was in a possible contaminated environment, it would have been on the mask, and I have now touched it. So my hands are now contaminated. So if you are removing your mask, you want to remove from the strings. Or let me demonstrate using a surgical mask. Now in doing so, when you put on the mask, you want to ensure you have a snug fit on your nose. So if you realize the mask went under my glasses in order to have a snug fit on my nose is completely covered, so is my mouth, and I am not having any gaps at any point around my face. Now that is the proper way to wear the mask. If you wear the mask and midway wearing the mask, you do this. Oops. And you pull it under your chin so you can take a breath, because sometimes it can be hard to breathe or to talk, as I am doing now. This is cross-contamination, as my neck was exposed prior to pulling down the mask, and I have now pulled the part that is on my face covering my mouth onto my contaminated neck. Then I will pull it back up and spread whatever I possibly had. So the same if you are to put it, I see some persons put it on them forehead, or they have it hanging from one ear like this. Doing so, you expose the inner part of it, which is supposed to be on your face, to whatever is exposed to the outer part. So if you take the mask off like this and you're wearing it like this, ineffective. This don't make no sense. Now, another point is that some persons reuse these masks. This is a disposable mask, meaning after use, you put it in the bin and you get a new one. These masks, fabric or cloth masks, you ought to wash them. You don't rewear them. You wash them. So you take it off. You don't just come home and put it down like that. No, put it down away from everything else, where it's covered, so whatever possible contamination is on it is in a covered container, or it's just not being spread. And you ensure to wash these. Also, they are not supposed to be worn all day. They don't have all day lifespan. They're not to be worn for 12 hours. No, they have a lifespan of approximately like about 4 to 5 hours. So after 4 to 5 hours, you're required to change your mask. Now a lot of persons wear it all day. They come home, put it down, and tomorrow they pick it back up and they have it in all day just the same. It is ineffective. You are not wearing it correctly. Now you have different surgical masks of different thickness, different level of filtration, and different level of fluid resistance, meaning holding in, for instance, a cough or a sneeze. So you have many different types of varying levels in terms of their effectiveness. Also, according to the CDC, wearing masks of unbreathable fabric is not recommended, nor is wearing masks with the exhalation valve. So you have some masks that have a little circle on it. It's called the exhalation valve. Now if your mask have an exhalation valve, the air is getting in and out without actually going through the mask, so you're letting in the virus just the same. So not recommended. Another point that I want to highlight is the wearing of face shields. I don't have one to show you at this current moment, but some persons are wearing a face shield instead of, for instance, wearing a mask. So a face shield cannot replace a mask. A face shield is to protect your eyes, not your nose, not your mouth. It is for your eyes. So wearing a face shield cannot replace wearing a mask. My last point is in terms of social distancing. Now the WHO, the CDC, and the FDA recommends social distancing. So this is about 6 feet from anybody. So not just 6 feet in front or 6 feet to the side. 6 feet in all angles. So as a person say they're social distancing, for instance, let me use for instance in church. So there are rows in the church. So they are 6 feet across from the person sitting in the bench, but they are sitting right beside somebody else. No. 6 feet this way, 6 feet that way, and that way too. So you have to maintain 6 feet from everybody, or that is what is recommended. Even though you're wearing a mask and possibly a face shield and you're sanitizing your face it is still required to maintain that 6 feet distance from everybody. In closing, I advise you to stay home as much as possible. Stay away from, the coronavirus on the outside. Remember to wash your hands as much as you can. If you cannot, you sanitize your hands and wear your mask in going outside, and keep safe and protect yourself. Now I have to close with my medical fact. Now, since we're currently talking about the coronavirus, I will tell you that taking vitamins, or not just taking supplements, but ensuring that your diet has sufficient vitamins helps to boost your immune system. And in boosting your immune system, you are one step ahead of protecting yourself from viruses and bacteria that are out in the world. And that's the end of the video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and if you so desire, leave a comment down below. And if you have any suggestions of videos that you'd like to see, just comment down below. Until next time.